I'm here tonight to tell you about the tour of the year. Yes, you can argue that there's going to be bigger ones still to come, or there was bigger ones earlier on in the year, but this one has two elements that none other did. First off, every single show was sold out. That was incredible. Every show sold out quickly. In some cases they had to change the venues to bigger venues to accommodate the demand. This doesn't happen every day. The second part of the equation is it features Lorna as the headliner. They are the hottest band of the moment, not just in metal, in the world, in the universe, in the Milky Way. They're definitely the hottest band, and they brought big guns with them. Aborted, Ingested, Angel Maker, and Of Sulfur. So crazy good lineup. No wonder the tour was sold out. And tonight at the Phoenix in Toronto, their second last show of this tour, they play Montreal, and then they are done. They can go back home, they can relax during the holidays and start planning 2023. A show that almost didn't happen. I have to say that because there's been a huge snowstorm in Buffalo, and that made the traveling to Toronto extremely difficult and dangerous. There was other tours that canceled their shows. These guys didn't. I'm glad they didn't, because I think people would have been absolutely destroyed for a tour that's sold out, for a show that they've been waiting for so long. The last second show of the tour to be canceled, I think, would be a price too steep to pay. So they made it their way here. I'm glad that they did safely, and they played. Every single band played on a night that really gives you a sense of how much quality all of these bands have, but it also gave me a sense of how similar they are in certain ways or in certain aspects, and then how unique they are in terms of how they interact with the audience and how they define their own sound, their own essence, their own way of being in terms of presenting their product or their music, whatever you want to call it, to the fan base. Starting off with Of Sulfur, that's how the evening got going. They are a young, hungry band, a band that has a new record coming out in 2023. So they have a lot to look forward to, but they also have a lot to be proud of. And I felt like the night went extremely well for them. When you're the opening band, the venue is not always full. People don't always give you the attention that you deserve, that you need. But I felt like all the stars were aligned. The place was packed by the time Of Sulfur went on stage, and the fans and their interaction and their appreciation for the band and their music grew with every single song. You can see the energy in the room, where it was at the beginning and where it was at the end, two very different places. So it's nice to see a band like this to come on stage, feel comfortable in their skin, feel comfortable with their surroundings, play to the crowd, ignite the crowd, and really get the evening going. That's really their goal. That's really their job. But at the same time, I felt like they were there with the idea that if we can bring some of these fans that came in for Lorna Aborted or Ingested or even Angel Maker, if we can bring them a little bit closer to us, maybe we can walk away from this tour, specifically from this show, with a few more fans in our back pocket. I honestly think that they've achieved that tonight. Great performance, great evening by Of Sulfur, and I got to meet my childhood icon, idol, Bam Bam Bigelow. Shout out to Bam Bam Bigelow. I love that dude. Great guy. Now the next band was Angel Maker. Now these guys brought a different type of intensity. While Of Sulfur, the intensity that they brought was perhaps a little bit more directed, it had more of a sense of purpose and direction to it. Angel Maker brought that same sort of intensity and aggression, but was a little bit more chaotic. Their overall show is a little bit more chaotic, but it goes with them. This is not a negative in any sort of way. It just gives you a different perspective of their youth, of their energy, and where they're trying to go with their music. Not as concentrated, not as linear, not as well thought out perhaps, a little bit more organic. It felt like they just went up stage. Honestly, if I didn't know better, I would say they went on and it's just like, you know what, let's just play whatever. It felt more like a jam session in terms of the energy that they had with the audience. It felt more natural, like I said, more organic. It works really well for them, and it works really well after a band that has a little bit more control, like Of Sulfur. So you have two similar outputs, but coming from two very different directions. This allows things to stay in line, but feel different from one band to the next. I really enjoyed Angel Maker. I thought they had a great evening. The sound was great for everybody, so I'm not really going to tell you that one band was better than the other. At the table, at the booth, mixing it, it didn't matter what band was playing if you were in the right spot, because when you're at the Phoenix, the closer you are to the stage, specifically if you are to the left or to the right, you're not going to get the ideal experience, because the PA, you're going to get more of one or more or less of the other, depending on how the sound is balanced at the table. But if you're at that center, the sound is just incredible. Like, it's a room that has great acoustics, and when it's packed, as it was tonight, the acoustics sound even better. There's enough there to absorb some of the edges in the sound and make things round out a little bit better. Angel Maker, great energy, great band. It felt like their set was extremely quick, because the energy that they had, how they moved, how they went from song to song, everything happened so quickly that you felt like you blinked and their set was done. But I really enjoyed watching those guys. The only thing I didn't enjoy was the guitar player wearing a Montreal Canadiens jersey. I know that was a little bit of a poking the bear, if you will. You know, you're in Toronto, why not wear a Montreal Canadiens jersey? I get it, but come on, was it really necessary? Really necessary? I don't know. To me, it felt a little bit uncalled for. Anyhow, but I get it. You try to get people going. I get it. All right, next band was Ingested. These guys just released a brand new record, and they took the night into a whole new level. The earlier bands had raw energy. Their youthfulness came through in their performance, in their music, in their stage presence. Ingested, with the experience that they have and a brand new record in their back pocket, they came in and they changed the evening completely. Nothing was ever the same from that point on. They had the crowd on their hands. They controlled the crowd. They directed the crowd. They used the crowd to their benefit in order for their music to have a much lasting effect and have a long reach as well. Great set, great performance. The drums sounded very heavy, very powerful, and that gave the band the backdrop that they need in order to push the guitars forward. I saw the same happening on their latest album, and now I saw the same thing happening live. They put on a great show, but to me, what made that performance better, what made that performance stand out in my mind, is how the crowd and them worked as one. They understood how they could pull the right strings to get them to go where they wanted to go, and when you do that, the overall evening becomes a lot more enjoyable, a lot more engaging. So great evening by Ingested. By the way, go check out their new record. It's a great album. It's out right now on all streaming platforms, so just go pick it up. Check them out on their social media to see if you can order it or from where you can order. All that information is out there. Just go pick it up, especially if you didn't go to the shows or if you haven't had a chance to see it live yet. Next comes Aborted. And Aborted, these guys are iconic. I mean, they've been around for a very long time. They're like they felt to me like they were the old statesmen as far as this lineup is concerned, but they know exactly who they are, where they're going, and where they fit in as far as the overall lineup of this tour was concerned. They put on a great show. Sven is a great frontman. I honestly don't know where he gets some of that range within his vocals, and I don't know where he pulls that from. The energy and the flawlessness that he uses in terms of his delivery is phenomenal. And tonight he felt to me like he had something to prove. Like he's like, Pedro's in the crowd. I gotta give him 110%. He came out guns blazing, like the whole band did, but his voice felt very warm. It felt very worked. I guess, this has been a long tour, so he's got a chance to really work his vocals. And by the time you reach the end of the tour, one of two things: either you're burnt out or you're just like starting to reach your peak performance. I felt like he was reaching peak performance. He's a great frontman. He has great energy, and he knows exactly where to take the crowd, or at least what to get out of the crowd. Because sometimes you want to direct the crowd, sometimes you want to take something out of them. I felt like that was the main difference between Ingested and Aborted. Ingested wanted to get something out of the crowd. Aborted wanted to perhaps direct the crowd a little bit better. So really interesting how they took the set list, how they took their performance. I really enjoyed it. It was my first time seeing Aborted live. I haven't had a chance to see them before. and I wasn't disappointed. I thought they were the perfect segue from what Ingested had done to where Lorna Shore was going to take us. They kind of bridged that gap perfectly with their sound, with that aggression, with their intensity, and perhaps more so with that vocal performance by Sven. He's a great vocalist, once again, good friend of mine, and I want to give him a shout out. Thank you for taking the time to come and see me. Thank you for all the gifts that you gave me. I had a blast just talking music with you and having a couple of drinks. What more could I have asked for? Last but not least, Lorna Shore. Now, Lorna Shore's set for this tour is really interesting because they only played one song that was a before Will Ramos song. I feel like Will Ramos is becoming a little bit of Jesus Christ. You know, it's before Jesus and after Jesus. It's becoming a little bit of that. So they only played one track that's from the before Will Ramos era, and that was Immortal. Everything else that they played was either from the EP, which they played every track from the EP, or from the new record. That surprised me a little bit, and yet it didn't. The EP and the new album were extremely successful as far as sales are concerned. They are where they are today with their popularity, not just because of those two records, but because of Will Ramos as well. So if you're gonna go, and if you're gonna ride that wave, I almost feel like there's no other choice but to give a little bit more time to the songs that Will Ramos has a fingerprint on. And if you have to pick something from the previous albums, from their discography, from their back catalog, I think Immortal is the obvious one. That song has to be on their set list regardless of who's performing, where they're performing, if they're headlining or not headlining. I think that's a song that has to be there. It's the connection to their past, their recent past, but their past nevertheless. Now, once you look at this set list and you see the songs that they put together, this was really a coming out party as far as those two releases with Will Ramos, and he was outstanding. I mean, think what you will of what you've heard from him on record or what you've seen from him on social media on his YouTube channel. Seeing this dude live perform the way he does, pull the things that he does, it leaves you scratching your head. How is this happening? Are my ears tricking me here? No, they're not tricking you. The guy has a voice that's like 1 in a trillion. I honestly, I don't have enough adjectives to quantify what this guy does on stage. And he's not just a singer. He's not just there to sing these songs. He uses the nuances and the different moments within the tracks that we see or that we hear when we're listening to a record, or when we're watching one of his videos on YouTube, or one of the band's videos on YouTube, I should say. He uses those nuances during the live performance to create breaks, to create pauses, to set up climaxes within songs. This is extremely important because now you're taking a track and you're molding, changing, breaking it, softening it sometimes in order to get not just the most out of that track, but to also give you a little bit room to breathe and give the song room to breathe as well. You're allowing the track to gain its own identity, separated from the identity that it has from the studio. It also allows them to interact with the audience without necessarily breaking constantly to do so. It becomes part of what the song is. It becomes part of the DNA of the track. I don't see this very often, and I don't see this from a vocalist as young as Will Ramos is. That to me was the main takeaway. I was expecting the sound to be phenomenal. I was expecting the guitars to sound great. I was expecting the drums to be powerful and heavy. All of that was there tonight. All of that was exactly to my level of expectations that I had coming into this show, coming into this tour. But I was not expecting Will Ramos to be that kind of a performer. That is the word to describe it, performer. Understanding his own vocal range, understanding the moments that the songs have, and then break those moments into separate little microcosms that allows him to give the crowd something unique while still giving the crowd the song that they want to hear. This is the fingerprint of someone who understands exactly what does it mean to be a vocalist, what does it mean to be a frontman, and what does it mean to create an experience, to create a show, and not just be there to perform song in and song out. Incredible performance by Lorna Shore. I'm dying to see them again, because it doesn't matter if they played for an hour and a half, you always feel like you could listen to them for a lot more than just that. But tonight was an hour and a half, and an hour and a half that leaves me with lasting memories. Let me know your thoughts on Lorna Shore. Let me know your thoughts on this tour. Like I said, they only have one more show, Montreal, and maybe by the time you're watching this, that show is done already. So let me know if you attended this tour. What stop did you attend? How was the crowd? How was the performance? Which of these bands surprised you the most, on the positive, on the negative? And thoughts on Lorna Shore with Will Ramos. How much has he changed the paradigm, not just for the band, but perhaps for metal in general? Hit me up in the comment section, and I'll see you all at the next video.